conversation that happens in the community, because it's not merely enough to just know your rights. We also, it's important for us to understand how we process it, but then how that interaction happens when we're confronted by that person in the uniform. Because a lot of times, while we may know what our rights are, when we're dealing with them, they are dismissive. And so you really don't have the opportunity to articulate what you know and what you don't know, because it's that encounter and that engagement. And so that we also have to identify when we're engaging with them, when and how we display that that knowledge that we have in knowing and understanding what our rights are. And that's extremely important, because a lot of times we'll find ourselves doing, well, I'm not gonna say we, but what we see from law enforcement officers and from those encounters that we often see on social media, is that they could possess all of the knowledge in the world about their rights, right? But when that individual with that badge and weapon encounters them with that poor behavior, it takes that from them. So what we want to do is share information with you, empower you so that you understand exactly how to not only engage the officer, but know what to do when you find yourself a victim by one of those individuals who just decide that they want to strip you of who you are. And so Mr. Stanton is going to give us some information that's going to help us to that end. Now, Mr. Stanton has worked as an attorney in the public defender's office. He has written and worked with the Department of Motor Vehicles, especially in on the laws that we see on our books today, the legislation centered around DUIs, driving under the influence. So he has a very strong background with the legislature, as well as as a defense attorney and working with our community. Now, I have two cameras going here, two computers going here. I think I was out of frame. So I'm going to have Keith jump in here and take over.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Perfect, all right. Since I'm gonna roll, I do have a PowerPoint, and I think what I have to do is have that going at the same time, but I'll start now. I'm gonna go through, and what I like to call this is a history lesson. You know, I can't change what has happened in the past, but what we can do is change our behavior in order to survive in the future. I'm a real talker. I will talk the truth. I hold nothing back. Questions, you can always ask me. You can find me. Now, to start, first of all, I'm going to say thank you to NAACP and Betty for allowing me to do these things and have this forum. It's rare that somebody gets to have this. I love it. This is what I do. I thank Wiley Manuel Bar Association, and I rep them today. It's the group of African-American lawyers of Sacramento. People should check out our website, Wiley Manuel Bar Association, and see what we do. First of all, I'm going to start off with this. And we can go, and we can go to the next slide, actually. The questions to ponder, okay? All the things we have, and we can put these all up. Why is it important to know where do they come from? Who the rights belong to and who can use them, and how do you exercise these rights, and what's the impact of doing so? Now, the key is we got to protect our rights under the U.S. Constitution. And one of the things that we are given is that right to vote. If we do not exercise that, then we fail, all of us. Next one. Now, our Constitution came about because of individuals who decided to leave the king, of course, and came over here, and they decided to basically take over this joint. They did it in different ways, but one of the ways they did it that was really severe was they decided slavery would be the building of this country. That was unusual to all the other dictators and people who took over places at the time. What they had to do was now transport individuals into this country, acclimate them through beatings and, of course, intimidation and things like that, to then work for them. And now we stand 450 years or 425 years later as individuals who own this country, but we don't have the deed to it. And so it's always a problem that we see. So law enforcement and us who came from slave catchers and stuff and us who came from slaves. So we got this history that goes way back, and it's deeply ingrained, and nobody will probably argue that we have systems of racial problems that are going on. And that is what is moved us forward. So my goal, save lives. Teach you how to behave under situations. It's hard to pull this up because it goes against our natural abilities or wants as a people to say something. But sometimes, and people know me, know my big phrase is shut the hell up. Because sometimes you may have a First Amendment right to speak, but you should not speak. And that's the wisest thing to do. Nelson Mandela says education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. It was. We began to be educated, and we started to create our own world within this world we were selected to be in. And we can go to the next. So why do we care about these police-involved shootings? Why? Well, because they're on the rise. We only make up 6% of the U.S., but even when Mike Brown was shot, we accounted for 40% of the unarmed men shot and killed by police. And it's something we have to always think about. When you shoot an unarmed man, you have to say that person is then what? Aggressive, right? And that's one of the tags that get on us is aggressive. And lo and behold, when we look at the thing that happened in Georgia, what did they say? The DA came out and said, hey, well, he was aggressive towards these guys with shotguns. And I go, well, if you look at our self-defense law, it says you cannot contrive a right to use self-defense. He's trying to say the white guys use self-defense. No, you can't contrive that. They built the self-defense, because if you're running after me with a freaking gun, I got to believe I need to defend myself. And then later you shoot me, I can't say, hey, self-defense. So we look at a lot of situations, and it's all based on the fact that officers view us as very aggressive. We're these beasts and stuff, and we have to be stopped. We can do things magical, like turn over vehicles or something, So we have to understand this happens to us a lot, which is why we got to know how to act. Next one. All right, legacy of America. And we can go through this one. It was the genocide of one race and the enslavement of another. And that's what we were built on. They talk about foundations, right? This foundation was not a tried and true one. It was different than anything that happened in the world. Next one. So we started to morph. Slavery became a little unpopular when really we know they fought over the economics of slavery and things like that. It had nothing to do with states' rights. It had to do with keeping the old boy system. And it turned into Jim Crow laws and stuff where, okay, if you gotta be here, we are gonna regulate who you are. We are not gonna let you be part of our society still. One of the big problems with slavery, yes, keep going, is that there was no end game. And I say that this way, I go, they never thought, hey, you know what, let's try this 100 years, 200 years, and we'll quit because we don't need it anymore. There was never a plan to end. And think about that when we leave here today, wow, how could you create that system and never plan to end? And so we saw in 65, we fighting for our rights. We thought, hey, if you just give us our rights, we'll be cool. But we know that even today, although we have rights, they can be overridden. So next one. All right, institutionalized racism. And we can keep going. This is our problem, incarceration. We've been doing that for quite a while now, incarcerating at a high rate. We've seen it go up and up, but there's been no way to stop it. So what has happened is the Fed courts have gotten involved and said, hey, we got to stop this. We got too many people incarcerated. So they've been ordering laws to change. We've been doing that as California citizens, Prop 47, 64. 1391, 40, I can name them all off, but each one, and it's interesting, all of these propositions are lessening the burden of the criminal justice system upon us mostly. It's easing the burden for us. So what are these rights under this Constitution? I'm gonna tell you this, the Constitution, very, very small document when you really think about it, okay? But we go to this First Amendment. Everybody knows this First Amendment. When was this exercised? All these people going up to their state capitol with guns and things, trying to protest something. Here's my thought. When they go there and they're trying to say, hey, why don't you open up society? How in the hell does a gun achieve that purpose? Why? And why weren't they stopped? So we got to think about this First Amendment. Yeah, we have a right to protest. Colin Kaepernick, right? Protested and it cost him. And we do this all the time, this First Amendment. So for us, protest and assemble, sure, we can do that. We can speak what we want to speak. We can exercise our religion, but people have been stepping on such things throughout history. And for my purpose, here's what I'm saying. You could say anything you want to say. Great. Why don't you do that? However, you also have to be cognizant of what you say and the reactions to it. Meaning, I can holler at a cop if the cop stopped me. I can yell at him. And here's the big question. What did I do? Why are you arresting me? You see, I always go, why are you asking that question? Why? When you really sit back and think about it, all they want you to do is to keep on acting that way. Keep on doing it. Don't shut your mouth. Don't be calm and look and listen instead of being upset, because you're not going to get the answer you want. So exercising your First Amendment to speak gets you nowhere. You really should just be quiet and listen to what's going on. So First Amendment, I got it. Don't have to use it though. Next one. Fourth Amendment is where it's all at. This is the one, the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. So meaning, when does a cop grab you? Is it in your home? Is it in your car? Is it in your person? You know, you're walking down the street, your stuff, right? We are protected from unreasonable searches and seizures. Now, what's the definition of unreasonable? We're going to argue about that back and forth. The courts have argued about that as to what is unreasonable. But what it really comes down to is the two standards, the reasonable suspicion a person has committed a crime. For example, let's take the Georgia incident. They were saying, hey, well, we thought he was, participating in burglaries and stuff. We have a reasonable suspicion of that. Okay, you could, but is that enough to go and stop a person? Well, for officers, they needed to stop us, whether we're in our cars or walking down the street. And if you are on probation or parole, you have waived this right. This is why getting us into the criminal justice system with probation and parole kind of hurts and hinders us where it really matters, because that takes away one of our Fourth Amendment rights right there. So we think about this driving while black, right? We know it happens all the time. So this Fourth Amendment, though, is going to be key to when we fight. So we can keep rolling the slide. Yes. So we talk about search of persons and property. So let me say, look, people say, do I need a warrant? You need a warrant. Look, they need a warrant to come into your home, okay? They're going to need a warrant. Never let them in for that. But any search must be reasonable. And here we go, reasonable suspicion to detain, okay? Now, for me to stop you in a car, I should have a suspicion that you have committed a vehicle code violation, done some sort of law-breaking activity before I pull you over. So we're going to see when we exercise our rights why it's important that you shut up and just listen to what the cop says first. Guaranteed, well, not guaranteed, but they're going to come up and they're going to want to say something like, hey, you on probation parole? Hey, smells like marijuana in here. Hey, got any weapons and guns? Nothing to do with why they pulled you over. And see, that distracts you. Then you go, well, why'd you pull me over? You pulled me over because I'm black? And they'll just go, I don't know, did I? You know, and it's keep on going. It's like an argument between spouses or something like that. It'll never end right. And you don't need to have it. He must have reasonable suspicion, okay? Not you. You have right to question, but you shouldn't at that time. Now, probable cause, a different standard, but you need that to search, to get the warrant to search and to arrest. A search incident to arrest is going to happen, and you should still deny them searching anything, but they can do it if they have legally arrested you, which is why I teach the exercise I teach. Keep going. All right. More on this. Pat-down searches. Officers often say, well, you know, I think I'm in a dangerous situation. I'm feeling a little nervous around you, so I got to pat you down for my officer's safety. Now, they get away with that one sometimes when you might have a bulge in your pocket or something like that, but still, you do not consent to search. Search of property, bags, still need that probable cause. So on those things, I don't consent to search. Never consent to search. Exigent circumstances. Cops can be chasing a felon or they think you're involved or something like that. Therefore, circumstances can exist where they can go into your house, they can go and grab you. That's all that means. You don't, what I teach, you're not going to find yourself in an exigent circumstance, so it won't apply. Probation, parole. Like I said before, when these are in place, you've lost that right. Now, does it go away? You better believe it goes away. When probation, parole is over, and you should expunge your stuff in probation early, in parole early. Once you do that, you now have your Fourth Amendment right back. Keep going. Fifth Amendment. I love this one because this is the one you're going to use the most. It's the right to remain silent. Don't incriminate yourself. You also must exercise this right. And it applies to adults and children. A lot of times, hey, if something happened, tell mama, tell daddy, something like that. No, if a child ever stopped by police, what we're going to learn is the child must also say, I want a lawyer, I'm not speaking. So next one, because we jam up to the Sixth Amendment. We got to talk about that one. That's only the right to have an attorney. And it attaches when you are arraigned in court. So just know, and I'm going to talk about this, once you exercise your rights and they still arrest you, they still want to prosecute, there's magic words in asking for an attorney, and at your arraignment, you will get an attorney. Will it be a public person or private? You can always hire counsel, but you will always get an attorney. Right to speedy trial, right to a jury. These things are in the Sixth Amendment. And right now, what we see with the court system is they've been putting things over. And yeah, it steps on your right to a speedy trial and your right to have a preliminary hearing, a probable cause hearing early. But what they're using is public safety now as the justification to step on this right. There's appeals. We've been appealing. We've been getting people out of jail, bringing bail to zero, doing all kinds of things. They're doing it, technically they really are doing things to get people out of there. But not everybody's going to go, because if it's a serious or violent felony, gun use, things like that, sex cases, you're not going to get out. So the exercise, here we are. We're at the juice. This is it. Here's what I'm saying. Consent, right? Any encounter with officers could be viewed as consent unless you lay the groundwork for that encounter. So I don't care if a cop is pulling me over. I don't care if they're asking me to stop on the sidewalk. Anywhere where an officer comes to you and you didn't call them, consent could be seen as the justification for that communication. If it's consent, officers have done nothing wrong. Anything you say will be used against you. All kinds of things will happen. So you've got to lay the basis of that. Okay, so here's what you say, 5 words. I don't care how you encounter the officer, you say 5 words. Officer comes up, hi, how you doing? Having a good day? Yeah, I just want to talk to you. Officer comes up, whatever, lay down, I don't care how they come up to you, either extreme, 5 words. Am I free to leave? Easy to remember, quick to remember. Am I free to leave? Why do you say that, Keith? Here's why. Your 4th Amendment kicks in now because you are requiring them to have reasonable suspicion for that stop. That's what's going on. You may not know that's what's going on, but now you know that's what's going on because am I free to leave begs what? An answer. Either yes or no. If they say yes, and remember, we're teaching this to kids. If they say yes, you leave. If they say no, you are now detained under the Constitution. But he didn't have his hands on me, so you're still detained, and he must justify his actions. Well, I still wanted to talk to him. I thought if I could just tell him something, they'd let me go. All right, be a fool, go ahead, but I would just assert my right. Am I free to leave and listen to what's happening? Because if they say, no, you can't go, realize they're probably going to do things to you. So now is more important than ever to just shut up. Because the next step when they say that is, I just want my lawyer. That's it. I want my lawyer. It's magical words. When you say it, they can't interrogate you anymore. They can't talk to you anymore. See, they may view you as, oh, you're just detained, right? But think about it. You're really in custody. You're really in custody. Go ahead and say, well, then I'm going to just run away if I'm just detained. Go ahead and try that. You're in custody because they will come after you. So don't confuse this. Your job is to exercise at that time. And it's funny because the exercise is really easy. Am I free to leave? No, I want my lawyer. That's it. That's it. Go ahead. Do what you got to do. Go do what you got to do, but I want my lawyer. And you let them do what they got to do. Most of the time, they're going to have to huddle up. They're going to have to decide, well, what was the reasonable suspicion? What happened here? And then you're going to go to jail. What if you go to jail? Okay, guess what's waiting for you? An arraignment date and a lawyer who can look at now the factual situation and argue in motions that your constitutional rights have been violated. You're not going to get that kind of juice on the street corner or where the cop sees you. That's not going on. That is not the court proceeding you want. You will get one, but you exercise your right to get there. Next slide. And notice at the bottom, I tell you, look, your right lies dormant unless you exercise it. It sits there. I'm gonna tell you something. A case just came out from the California Supreme Court. A person who was being interrogated said, hey, you want a lawyer? Don't you think I want a lawyer or something like that? And he said, yeah. Or no, oh wait, don't I think you want a lawyer? And he says no. Or yeah, I can't remember it, but basically he's saying, don't question me without my lawyer. Now, the problem was he didn't assert enough, the court said. They said, oh, well, it's still ambiguous because the cops question. Because cops know how to manipulate the 4th and 5th Amendment. And they'll come at you and say, hey, just want to talk to you about some stuff. If you're innocent, no problems, right? You say nothing. Nothing. They can lie to you. They can make fun of you over here, making you mad to where you want to say something. They can bait you, tease you. And so it's so important to just shut up and say, I want a lawyer. If they get confusing with the questions, I want a lawyer. Here's what has to happen. They have to wrap up and go, period. They're magical words. Now, let's just say I go through the court system, right? I get the case dismissed because Keith files a great motion and he's great in court and it's done. And the evidence is not used and stuff. And realize I'm saying all this and I don't care whether you're guilty, innocent, dirty, undirty. It doesn't matter. What we're talking about are the constitutional rights that you have earned by being a citizen here. If everybody else has them, why not me? So when that occurs, now you're mad. I'm mad. We should file a complaint against this cop. And yes, you should. Okay. So you go to SAC PD, Office of Police Accountability. You file a complaint. The form should be online. You file it and you want to follow up with it. Okay. See, that whole time that you're with the cop, all you should be getting is his name and badge number, name and badge number. That's it. Remember that stuff. That's going to be important. Now, why is it important to file a complaint? All right, let me tell you. First of all, employment actions. Okay, I'll jump there. Cops, when they are getting boosted from, let's say, patrol to sergeant, sergeant to this and that, the public can talk, can offer their opinion. And wouldn't it be beautiful if a cop is sitting there and Betty and NAACP is in the back and they say, hey, public, anybody got any problem? Anybody got any issues with this person being promoted? And Betty goes, hey, well, hey, let me just say, I got about 20 complaints here over the last year of this person doing this, and this. So that hearing that would be probably recorded. See, it's going to be hard for them to go through that when the public shows up that way. So that's a reason to do that. Now, here's the thing, Pitchess motions, right? Nobody will know what that is unless you're a lawyer like me, right? It's a motion to get your employment records if I believe the cop is dirty and I'm fighting a case against that cop, okay? Hard to get. They make us jump through hoops and stuff like that. We can avoid that by filing these complaints and giving it to Betty, giving it to someone else, holding on to it. And I say organizations like NAACP, if you come to them, bring that complaint, make that complaint so that they have that there. Then, and this is my dream world, but I think it can work. If every organization in Sacramento, and I mean community organization who hear complaints from citizens, if they then, oh, a complaint, let us file that, let us keep that. Turn it in, but let us keep a copy because local attorneys, someone like me can go, you guys got anything on this guy? And you will have independent records of this individual's behavior that I can use without going to the court under a Pitchess motion and jumping through hoops to get the information. So we got to file complaints. If the cops did you wrong, you filed the complaint. Please. Next slide. Power of the vote. Man, I tell you, we thought we had something in 64. We really did. Malcolm told us it was really important to have this thing, right? And you know, we don't do it enough. And I'm tired of it. So here's the deal. Everybody vote. Can I do it? I got a felony? Yeah. You just don't have to be currently in prison or currently on parole, I believe, is the only thing. I got a felony. I got misdemeanors. I got a criminal record. So what? Vote. Vote. Tell those who are incarcerated in county jail, mail in votes. We're going to be able to do that. So bad politicians are elected by good people who don't vote. Oh man, when what do you call them? Celebrities get up and say, well, I didn't vote, and things like that. And you have impact over millions of kids or people. You know, I'm sad. I start thinking about my history and my past.